So I started to think about what is it that drives me? And what drives me is really working on helping other people feel better. I really want people to feel good about their lives. And so I thought about retiring and I was like, not everybody gets to retire early and nobody thinks it's possible. People don't think it's possible. They think I don't have enough money. It'll never happen for me. I'm going to work till I'm 80. And I'm like, oh, please. If the girl who made the top half of her high school possible can figure out how to do this, then believe me, anybody can. It's just about your perspective and it's about what opportunities come up and staying present and not looking like this, but looking like this. Where are my options?
Hello and welcome to the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm Brittany Cates, your host and companion on this incredible journey of career transformation. Get ready for inspiring stories, valuable insights, and a roadmap to shift your mindset towards a more fulfilling professional life. In each episode, we explore the remarkable journeys of individuals who made the leap from one career to another. As we navigate through these stories together, you'll find motivation, strategies, and the confidence to pursue your dreams. Whether you're feeling stuck, contemplating a change, or just seeking a dose of inspiration, this podcast is your weekly companion. Tune in every Thursday as we uncover the secrets to shifting your day job. I'm Brittany Cates, and I'm here to guide you on your path to a more fulfilling career. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm Brittany Cates, and I am delighted to share this interview with you. I am talking with Jennifer Joy Johnson. She is a financial coach, and she has the most infectious personality. I really enjoyed our conversation. She's fun, she's funny, she's smart, she's driven, and she has so much amazing advice to offer you in this wonderful episode of the podcast. I think the thing that stands out to me the most about this episode is the positivity that Jennifer approaches everything with, and this idea of shifting your perspective in order to recognize how things can benefit you in your life or how things can serve you rather than looking at things as obstacles. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I would love to hear what stood out to you the most from all of the amazing content that Jennifer shares with us. So without further ado, please welcome Jennifer Joy Johnson to the podcast.
Thank you for reaching out and wanting to be on my podcast. Thank you. And I would love to hear about your background, your career story, and where you started, where you're at, and what got you there.
It's interesting because I'm a strategy coach now. You know what I mean? That's what I call myself, a guide, a mentor, the whole lineup, an educator. But the thing is that the reason I'm more focused on I'm a career coach turned life strategist. So I used to work in human resources, organizational development, training and development, HR leadership, global companies, just doing all of that. And I loved what I did. And I came into it through the back door. I joke with everybody that I come through the back door to do things because I was a terrible student in high school. And I always, every time we have a reunion or something, I always go to everybody and say, you're welcome, because I'm what made the top half possible, because I was in the lower portion, the lower 40. But it's so, for me, getting out of all those years ago, getting out of school, I knew that I wasn't going to get into a great college. I wasn't going to, not with my grades and so I was thinking, Kyle, I'm going to have to start in this place and then figure out how I can move myself to other things and do that. And so that's what I did. I started out in fine arts theater. I was going to be an actress. But then I realized that I can't memorize a script, for anything to save my life at all. I still can't. Someone will be like, can you memorize I haven't done a TED Talk ever because there's no way. So I ended up in international relations and more of a civil servant type thing. And then realized that politics was going to be incredibly difficult. So I've always been someone who's said, all right, let me just try this. Let me try that. Let me try this. I'm the first generation. I'm a Generation X. I'm one of the oldest versions of a Gen X. But I was brought up by baby boomers, and baby boomers were brought up like, you take one job, you take one career, you live that your whole life. And I am the first generation around my people who are very mixed. Some feel like they had to stay in the same job. I was the first one who said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to stay in the same career the whole time, because those days are over. Layoffs, that kind of stuff was already starting to happen and people were losing jobs. So I'm like, I'm going to change jobs if I feel like it. And I did. When I'd work with companies, I ended up going into a city league and I worked in workshop, like help as an administrative assistant, helping with them do workshops for the towns and cities of Connecticut. And I had fun doing that. And then I ended up, because of my outspokenness, getting into training and development. I was given a chance through my boss, who said, I'm going to let you get up in front of the room and start doing training. I thought I was going to die. Okay. I can completely remember my very first speaking engagement. I say this because I want people to understand I can talk to you, no problem. When I first started, the generous people that were in the audience, they were so generous to not ask me any questions and to just politely clap when I was done, because I thought I was going to pass out the entire time and I have no idea what I said. Nothing. No idea. As you do things, you get better at them. And that goes with every muscle that you have developed. Change muscle. The change muscle has to be developed. You can't most people aren't born with good change muscles. So I developed that over the years and ended up jumping into HR again. The boss comes to me one time and says, how about becoming the HR manager of the facility that we have down the road? I had changed jobs and I was now working for a for-profit. And I was like, I've never done all of HR. And he was like, just do it, because you'll learn the stuff you got to learn and the things you don't, but they really need the people aspect and someone who will listen to them and help, and someone who'll challenge the leaders. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. So that was my whole spectrum. And I loved it because as you're hearing, in my first 10 years, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. And it was because I was open to do it. And even though I was afraid, I was like, okay, I can do this. What's the worst that can happen? It could be like, you suck.
Yeah.
And I just kept doing that. And I loved my job. And I got more progressively into other things, right? Coaching. I coached executives. I did performance management. I globally worked. I moved to Denmark for 4 months, and just a variety of things that I did all the way through. But then I started to realize that the corporations were getting bigger and they were starting to merger and acquire. And I was about 47. And I realized that the runway to my retirement was 62 and a half, 65, 70 for me to get full Social Security benefits. And I had done my 401k dutifully, but I was like, my burnout was going to come much faster than my retirement was going to come. And I was like, oh, I ain't going to make it. I'm going to make it. And switching jobs wasn't going to help, because it was just becoming less employee friendly. And I'm an HR person who gives a doo-doo about my peoples.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I couldn't do my job effectively anymore. And I thought, what am I going to do? So at this point, I was like, well, I can always switch jobs, because I'd done that before. And I was thinking, but so all the years of coaching I'd been doing with people, I thought, well, I could become a coach. So maybe I'll figure out how to do that officially. And from me to you coaching, I went and got my certification. I did those because I started to plan right about then. What shall I do? And then I thought, what if I decided I should retire early? Maybe I can retire early. Nobody in my family ever retired early. There was none of that. My father left work earlier, got his bachelor's, and then went back to work. But no one got out. No one got out early. So I thought, I'll just make an aim to try for 58. I'll try for 58 instead of 62 and a half, 65. And that's what I'll do.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do it in 2-year increments, like thinking about how will I do this? I can switch jobs. I don't like to run from things. I like to dig my heels in and figure out how do I navigate this in the best way possible. And so my way through, and I was just amazed and shocked at the things that started to show up just because I had made a different decision. So I ended up with a talk show. That was when I ended up moving to Denmark. That was when I ended up buying an extra house. And all these things just came up and came up. And I'll tell you what, I was 48 when I started that plan. I was ready to go at 53. So
to retire early at 53.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So I will stop right there because I'm sure other questions will lead us down a path. But 53 from 48, I was ready to become free and independent. I didn't know there was a thing called financial independent retire early at the time. I didn't know there was a thing. Now I know it's such a thing, and I'm like, ooh. So that I tend to coach in that stuff now. But I will leave it right there because there's just so much more.
I'm sure. It's so interesting. The thing that stands out to me is you chose to approach it differently. What did that look like? What was your perspective before? And then what was that exact decision? Just taking it one year at a time? Is that the decision that was different?
I think what was being an HR person all those years, I have coached and worked with people throughout their entire career from beginning to end, all of it. I've had people sit across from me and call me names, and I've had other ones who cried, and I've had other ones who thanked me, and other ones write me letters saying, thank God that you were here. You know what I mean? Because it taught me to help others to enjoy their journeys or do their best to enjoy their journeys along the way, because work takes up so much of our life. We treat it like a have to because we need to survive. But if you treat it like a part of how you treat everything, if you treat your own personal life with, I can't wait to go on vacation, how do you get to the point where you're like, I can't wait to get to work? And to me, as soon as you start feeling like a victim, you've lost. And it comes naturally for people because they get very self-protective. Our bodies, our minds protect us from feeling terrible about ourselves. And then we end up feeling terrible about ourselves because we're fighting with ourselves so much. It's a catch-22. Yeah. But so basically for me, having really been the one who tells people how, because I used to be so sad when people would come to work and be miserable at work. So I would say to them, how can you think about work as a safe place for you to get away from the other parts of your life sometimes and enjoy the part that you're actually don't have to, especially if people are having difficulties at home. I'd be like, when can work become a safe place for you? So that when you come here, it's a segment, compartmentalize things. This is a segment of your life where you actually can take a breather and not think about all the other things that are not going well for you at home or in your life. So to come here, we've got you. You're here, do your best. Don't do 110%. I would tell people all the time, nobody do 110%, please. Don't do it. Everybody do 90%. We're going to be doing really good if everybody just does 90%. And so it's that. So I approached it from that perspective for myself as well. I thought I might as well use these tools on myself. If I feel like I have to jump ship, then I'm just scrambling and coming from scarcity and panicking, and I'm not doing service to myself. So what do I want to do? I want to manage my own morale, and I want to enjoy my exploration. So if I'm going to aim for 58, if I look at 58, I'm 48, that's 10 years, I could freak myself out. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So let me just take 2-year increments. I said 2 years. 2 years will work, and we'll reevaluate each time,
Right. Yep.
And that's when, and that's why I tell people to think about it from that perspective, because that's where I got astounded by what came up for me almost immediately. Like within months, I had somebody call me up that knew me and said, Jen, I got a proposal for you. I want to know if one day a week you'd come and join my talk show, be the host of my talk show. And I was like, what? I did it for a year and a half. And it was so great that it helped me with the work challenges. So I had an outlet that was creating more joy for me, which brought me into work with more joy. And that's what I did all along. And I just was open to what would come. And the mindset shift was really about, if you watch other people, you can see who's done it well and who has not done it well. And do you want to be the one who does it well or the one that doesn't do it well? It's not a complicated thing. It's really about making a decision that says, I want to be happy now. So
I love that.
So that's how I worked it.
I think there's a lot of great advice in there. I love the piece about wanting to manage your mindset. Is that what you said?
Your morale.
Manage your morale. I've also heard manage your mood.
Yes.
So you can make the decision, right? And I think that's a big key too, because a lot of times people let their circumstances determine how they react rather than being more reflective about it and saying, no, I'm going to choose how I handle my circumstances instead of letting them dictate how I'm feeling or what decisions I'm making.
It's huge. It's huge. I will tell you, that helped so many people in the workplace to recognize, because I would say, give it a little try. Give it a little try. When you have someone who comes at you, because usually it's somebody triggering somebody. And so this person's triggering you, instead of you having the reaction that says, because we polarize, we go north to south. So instead I would say, actually just give that person as much generosity of spirit that you can. I always would do this. I'm like, here's your generosity of spirit here. Be generous with that person, because who knows what they're going through. So just for a moment, be generous and give them feedback that's completely different than what you urgently want to do. I can't believe the number of people who would say, they would actually come by my office and be like, I tried it. Oh my God, you should have seen how so-and-so reacted. Or so-and-so reacted, they were still mad, but I felt better because I felt powerful.
Wow.
I felt powerful.
Wow.
It's so power giving to be able to choose your responses. Nobody always does it. I don't do it all the time. I'm not that good. 80-20 rule.
Yes. I love that reminder. Just try and make the effort, and you're going to fall short. Sometimes that's just part of being human being, and that's okay. That's great advice. One other thing that I think is interesting is how you're talking about different opportunities that came your way, even though you didn't necessarily have background or the degree per se or the experience, like moving into HR in general. And it's cool that somebody noticed your strengths and then said, you can learn all the other stuff along the way. It's no big deal. And I think that is a mindset that people get stuck in, is I don't have the degree. I don't have the just bullet point experience that it says on the job description. And my big thing that I had to learn in my career change process was no, you have so many valuable skills that you've developed throughout your whole professional journey, whatever profession that was. And therefore, you have so much value to offer in any role. And you can learn new skills, but you can't be a different person. It's more about the personal fit and especially in your instance, the people skills, right? That all those other skills, you can totally just figure it out along the way and no big deal.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the things that overcoming fears. It's like some people think that they tell me all the time, you're fearless, Jennifer. You're fearless. I look fearless. I act fearless. I seem fearless. I'm full of fear. Full of it. Full.
Yeah.
Getting on. I get nervous. I get anxiety. I did public speaking with training and development for 10 of my career years. And I was doing leadership development before I had ever been a leader. So I'm up there in the audience and I'm like, what do I know? Right. It was so I was afraid of it and I would get anxiety, but I learned the two points of that. One, I learned that even if I go to I've spoken in front of 1,000 people before. Do you know what I mean? Just or two, right? It doesn't matter to me because once I go out to perform something, it's not performing, but it is performing. People want you to be interesting. So I would get up in front of a room and and no matter how much I did it, I was still nervous. Personality style is one of wanting to make sure people are happy around me. There's different personality styles. You got to know your personality style in order to know what your strengths are and what your challenges are, not just wish for something that you're not. Because sometimes we really are molded in many ways. We have some things that are just who we are. And how do you support yourself with that and also know it so that when someone says to you, do you want to get in front of a room and talk? You know what I mean? You know that you're either going to never be able to do it and not to do it and be happy with that. But if you, this sense of love to do that, but I'm afraid, well, if you'd love to do it and you're afraid, then you can. Like if there's pleasure in it, somehow you can do it. But anyway, so to me, overcoming that fear it's artificial because we all walk around afraid of certain things and we don't overcome the fear. Over time, maybe some things you get less afraid of, but when it comes to your own performance and your own imposter syndrome is for everybody. It's an equal opportunity lawyer. So I don't think, but I don't remember what it was. So
that's okay. What's the saying? You can't have courage without fear. No one would be courageous if they didn't do something, even though they were scared. And I think because life is full of unknowns, we got to kind of start living for the anticipation of probably not going to know what's going to happen. Like you said, that I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I am going to approach my job this way and just see what happens and be okay with how it unfolds.
Correct.
And that's another thing that I love that you talked about. As soon as you let go of trying to like control and react and like everything in your job, doors started opening for you. And it's this idea of being in flow and being more aligned with who you are as a person and loving yourself now, right?
Yeah.
And being grateful for what you've got now. And that's not to say that you don't want to like change or improve over time, but finding ways to recognize where you are in the present, recognize and show gratitude for it.
It's 100%. We think we're going to somehow it's like there's a veneer that goes on, right? Like you got to fake it till you make it. I heard that my whole life, fake it till you make it. So I did it.
Yeah.
But really what I realized was, oh crap, I'm older now, right? So I'm like, oh my, and I'm not even as old as hopefully I keep going, right? But the whole thing is that fake it till you make it. I realized, oh my gosh, what terrible advice in some ways. It's good when you have to brave yourself and get brave and do something. But if you never stop faking it to actually analyze and look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm new at this thing. I can't be expected to know it. But because someone else expects it of me doesn't make them right.
Yeah.
I get to make mistakes. And I get to not be as good. And I get to laugh at my own mistakes. I don't have to be ashamed of them. But we're brought up, and women, I think, are more, I'm not going to blanket it men or women, but women, I think we're born brainwashed in many ways. we're brought up to please people. Don't speak out in turn. Even though even younger generation is still getting coaxed to behave a certain way. And let's not excuse bad behavior. If someone's treating you poorly and bullying you at work, you get to say, no, thank you. And to be mean or defensive, even though that's our instinct. But it's okay to it's just okay to be imperfect. That's as part of the HR world, they have this thing called, you start out with, there's 4 areas of learning, like learning something new. At first, you're unconsciously unskilled. Okay. I mean, you don't even know what you know, right? You're unconsciously unskilled. Somebody gives you a new job. You've never been there. You walk in the front door and they go, come on out. We're going to show you. And you go, because you don't, right? Then come consciously unskilled. They show you something and you go, okay, I'm going to try that now. And then you realize, I still can't do it. I know I can't do it. I know what it is now and I still can't do it. I feel like a loser. Oh gosh. No, that's okay because you're consciously unskilled. Then you start to become skilled at something, right? So you're consciously skilled. The day you get it right, the day you start to repeat it, the day you're doing it when you're go home at night and it's running in your head, you're like, woo, I know it. I got it. I know it. And then you become unconsciously skilled. You check out you're doing things. You no longer are present. And there's nothing safe on that whole spectrum, right? The best scenario is when you get skilled and you're consciously skilled about it, but that only can last so long. So it's like driving, right? Anybody who drives knows that they went from, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to drive, to now sometimes you drive and you get home and you go, I have no idea how I got here.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that thought, or that, what would you call it?
Yeah. That cycle
or that process that's been outlined by somebody in some book somewhere. Anyway, I like that because it just helps you to take things on in a different perspective, right? It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
And it made me think of, so the job that I'm in now, I've been in at this company for about 2.5 years, and I hadn't been a UX designer before that, right? But I brought in a lot of skill set that I had learned throughout my professional career. I am tech savvy, so I'm not afraid to jump in and give it a try, but I felt really intimidated being in the room with all these other people who had the degree or had the years of experience. And it took me a while to feel confident enough to start speaking up, sharing my opinion, and starting to be like, okay, I think I know what I'm talking about. I'm allowed to be in the room. And yet even still, there's some of that. I feel like I should know more probably than I do because I've only been doing it for 2.5 years. And someone on my team said the other day, she said, I got to a point where I just realized, just enjoy being a junior designer. Just ask all the questions, because as soon as you're a senior designer, you're expected to know more stuff. But right now, just enjoy it. And that really resonated with me because I do get caught up in that. Oh, I think I should probably know this, or should I ask the question? Is that dumb? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be the expert. I'm gonna ask all the people. So
show up and have fun, much fun as you possibly can. Why not? We're going to be there anyway.
That's true too. Don't take everything so seriously at work.
And it's
there are days where it's harder than others, but
80% of the population is not confrontational. So even if you're in a workplace, and you've seen it, we've all seen it. You've been in a workplace and you see the one who's not performing and doesn't care, and it doesn't even pull their own portion of the work. And you're like, why are they still here? And then you and the achiever, who's afraid to ask a question because you think you should know something, is, whoa, wait a minute. Now I'm on it. I show up, I present, I get my work done. I should have more fun while I'm working because I'm doing a good job. People don't give themselves enough credit.
No, we don't.
Much.
The people that do give themselves enough credit probably aren't doing that much.
They're not asking these questions of themselves.
Exactly. Oh, I know what else I wanted to ask you. Tell me about this retiring early because I don't know anything about it.
I love it. Okay. I'm telling you what, first of all, it's as much of this is why I do what I'm trying to do what I'm doing. I wasn't going to do that when I left work. I wasn't going to talk about retirement with people when I left work. I call myself all kinds of stuff. Polymath. I do everything. I am financially independent, solo. I travel all the time. I have no home. I sold everything 2 years ago. Everything. I had 3 houses. I sold them all.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, this prosperity that I have of 3 houses, I know it sounds like everyone's, you know what? It was all in Maine, which I love. I live in Maine. I've been in Maine. Now I don't live in Maine. I'm back in Maine because I keep coming back. My mission is to find out where I would live in the world besides Maine. But because I just fell in love with it when I moved up here years and years ago. But just so you know, everything you said perspective, everything about perspectives. I am really successful. I was able to retire at 53 and I'm 57 now. Okay. So I've been 4 years retired. I still worry about money all the time. Okay. I have enough. I have enough. I have enough. I worry about money all the time. Okay. So it's like, why am I worried about money, even though I can tell myself not to? So no matter where you go, there you are. So everything you struggle with, when we don't figure it out for ourselves, it comes with you no matter where you go. So there's certain things you got to figure out in your own life and let go of. And I've done a lot of that, right? My sister says, and I don't know if it's a compliment or not, Jennifer, I don't know anybody else who knows themselves better than you. But I take it as a compliment because I have really worked at this stuff all these years. Because when you said it earlier, and I'll try to get back on track if I can remember. You said earlier, you gotta love yourself. And I remember for years being angry when someone would say that to me because I didn't know how. Didn't know how. Wanted to. I wanted to. And I thought I did, right? I looked in the mirror and I would say, you're a good person. You're smart. You're funny. You have stuff. But then I still felt like unlovable. And it took I won't bear on your podcast, but just imagine that I would. I had to I was the graduate speaker for my master's, and I talked about being life is like a garden. Life's like a garden. And I said, and I went through we're all different flowers. We're all different plants. We all have different things. Things make us grow. Some like sunshine, some like shade, some like water, some don't. But then I said, but what makes all of us grow the best? What's the thing in a garden that really helps us grow? And then everyone was thinking, and then they're listening, they're thinking, they're like going, I think she's talking about manure. And I was like, and they start laughing, right? So this ruffling crowd starts laughing, and I go, you're getting it. You're getting it. Yes. Manure. We all get fertilized. That's like life. We learn the best by the manure that comes our way. And so I think that was something that learning to love myself instead of being frustrated with myself all those years, being mad at myself, I really should have given myself more of a break and said, it'll come as I learn lessons. And it did. As I learned lessons and I learned it and really sat with some of this stuff because I couldn't keep being afraid of things that were causing me to be blocked. You get there. You just have to give yourself time and patience to do that. So getting to this retirement thing was, I didn't know I'd get there that fast. I was hoping that in 10 years, I would be right and maybe make it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like I said, things started to show up. The 3 houses were because I had one house that I built. Then I had a 2-unit because I started working in a different location that was 2.5 hours away. So I bought a 2-unit and let the person that was renting it help me pay the mortgage so that I could keep my other house, right? And then a 3rd house came up that was like, just fell in my lap. And I was like, this is a great investment. I'll do it as a rental property. And then I realized, oh gosh, I don't like being a landlord. So I ended up, then COVID hit.
Oh,
I was already done working in 2019. The last day of 2019 was my last day of work. So I was going to go up and be a coach, right? I was going to do all that stuff. And that was January of 20 when I went on my first marketing junket and went to New Hampshire and went visiting. And then by March, we were all shut down and I was home. Everyone, really, a ton of people came out of the woodwork, came online, became coaches, did all this stuff. That caused me to go like, oh, I don't want to go online and compete like this. You know what I mean? I don't like it. So I started to think about what is it that drives me? And what drives me is really working on helping other people feel better. I really want people to feel good about their lives. And so I thought about retiring and I was like, not everybody gets to retire early and nobody thinks it's possible. People don't think it's possible. They think I don't have enough money. It'll never happen for me. I'm going to work till I'm 80. And I'm like, oh, please. If the girl who made the top half of her high school possible can figure out how to do this, then believe me, anybody can. It's just about your perspective and it's about what opportunities come up and staying present and not looking like this, but looking like this. Where are my options? And so for 2 years, I was retired and then I sold everything because I thought I'm going to work to take care of my house. That's backwards. I'm not going to do it. I can buy something later. Do you know what I mean? So I went off, started traveling. And so me and the dog travel.
Yeah. Wow. What's one of your favorite places that you've gone and stayed?
I will say it's Italy and Sicily. However, what I have learned, it's very bad, very bad. What I have learned is that no matter where you go, there you are. So whatever is not good comes with you. But on top of that, I've also learned I can live just about anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me because wherever I go, people are. And I'm a total observer of cultures and different environments and different people. And for me, every time I go somewhere, I'm fascinated. And so it's so fun to travel because I don't stay like people like, oh my God, how was Paris? I'm like, I was only there 2 days. I went everywhere else. I go into the side pockets. I go where nobody goes.
Yeah.
People are like, Hull. They're like, where? Hull. There? Like upper northeast corner. Nobody goes there. It's just really life's an adventure. We only have one life. Don't waste it.
A thought that I wrote down recently that I'm trying to remember is to try and look at your life as a series of discoveries rather than events. And it goes along with life's an adventure. Like, just embrace it and stop trying to like shoot for the next thing. Just like enjoy unraveling and discovering who you are and what those things are that you're taking with you and what you need to continue to unravel those and enjoy the journey a bit more. Like you said, have fun at work and have fun wherever you are.
Just keep it that mantra of having some fun because we take things so seriously. And one of the things I imagine is that if, people and I always recommend this. I like to mentor younger people because I want them to not fall into that trap. They have to think about the responsibilities that they have to do, but they don't have to pigeonhole themselves and be so stressed all the time. I'm sorry, but the younger folks, sometimes the 20-somethings stuff are so stressed, and they hide it really well, but they're sick to their stomach. They have anxiety all the time. And I'm like, life is not going to crush you. Not. But what I ask people all the time is if everything stopped tomorrow and you had to, nothing changed from tomorrow for the rest of your days, nothing changed. Are you in the job you'd want to be in for the rest of your life? Are you in the house you want to be for the rest of your life? Are you doing the things you'd want to do for the rest of your life? Like Groundhog Day, if everything came back and you had to do the same thing over and over again. Are you doing stuff now? Granted, I don't think anybody want to do anything all the same all the time. But
no,
in terms of perspective around how much you're enjoying what you're doing.
Right.
That's a really good way to go, what do I need to change in order to at least be able to say, if that did happen, I guess that wouldn't be the worst case scenario. If I was stuck in the job that I don't like, then it would be hellish, it'd be hell on earth.
I like that perspective because I think it really reveals a lot to you as you reflect on that. As you're saying it, I'm thinking about my life right now, and there are certain things that it'd be okay if that was it. But then there are other things I'm like, probably not.
Right.
And what's your advice for them to do it next once they like recognize, oh, that would be hell on earth. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Then what?
Then what you do is you go to the end in mind and backtrack the things you would do to get there. So start with the end in mind. And then, because every step you take is a growth step toward it, which actually makes it more palatable and enjoyable. Like mine was, I want to have the freedom to choose to do things and not just, have to take that next. They used to ask me to move to Philadelphia all the time for promotional purposes, and I would say no. And they started to dislike me more and more because I kept saying no. But I didn't want to work my whole life. I didn't want to be an 80-hour, 90-hour person who had to commit my entire life to my career. So I kept saying no. But I also knew that it was getting like, Then when they mergers and acquired, they wanted me to move and serve more clients in different locations and not. And I was like, listen, you're not thinking about me or the people I serve. We're not going to be doing each other any justice. So, so you go to the end of what you think you want, play it out. Yes, I want to be famous for my book, and I want to tour the country talking about my book. And then they want another book. Then they want another book. And then everybody wants your time. And then you go, be careful what you wish for. Make sure that you do want. And then you just backtrack. If I was going to if I really want to be Oprah Winfrey and do whatever, what does that look like going backwards and chunking that up?
I like that. And it makes me think of too, when you're saying be careful what you wish for, talk to people that are doing the thing that you think you want to do so you can get a better idea of what does that look like and what sacrifices do they have to make to be that person, right?
Yes.
And then you can truly evaluate, okay, I need to pivot a little bit. Maybe that's not exactly how I want it to go, but
I like to be pragmatic. I think you can dream really big. And I think that if you have big dreams and you feel like you're missing them, like I have fear of missing out because I want to do so many things. But I also recognize that's okay because that means I have desires to do more things. So instead, like that about myself, not say, I didn't get there yet. I didn't do that yet. Oh my God, I don't have that yet. So what? Yeah. So what? As long as I keep moving and doing what I need to do to get closer to my goals, then I'm doing fine. And that's what I think. I just want people to like who they are, where they are, because we try so hard to wish away our lives. And I don't want people to wish their lives away.
I agree. Awesome. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Jenny. I keep wanting to call you Jenny.
Totally.
I don't know.
I love what comes out of people's mouths for me. Totally. It does not. I have no dictation of what anybody calls me.
Tell my audience where they could find you to learn more from you or work with you.
I think if you're interested in working on financial independence and all the mental stuff that goes with it, because it's not, if it was just about money, we would all be wealthy already, right? If it was just about money, but it's not. There's so many other things involved in it, which is why I work really with women, at different trajectories in their career life. I call it the career life cycle because it is a life cycle. And they can reach me. Honestly, I'm so not, I have a website. It's totally out of date, but it gives you the gist. You can reach me on Facebook. That's my most popular, where I go to just do my lives and do whatever and just chat with my peeps. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I'm starting to use it more. My thing is called Women Catching Fire. So that's my kind of thing, my little thing I'm leaning toward is Women Catching Fire, because I think well, it's cute,
Yeah.
catch fire, girls. But it's financial independence, retired early. But again, it's really about financial independence and freeing yourself to make your own choices the way you want to make them. And that way you're really so powerful to be able to do that. And so those are the kind of things. I'm on Instagram, but not a lot. And then I have Calendly. You can find Calendly on my website and on Facebook, that kind of thing. So
Okay. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I love your energy and your passion behind mindset and learning who you are and living on your own terms.
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing is awesome. Being
Thank
able to travel the world.
going
A
as well.
little jealous.
Everybody gets a little jelly. This is why I remind everybody that no matter where you go, there you are, because they'll be like, "What did you go see today?" And I'm like, "I stayed in Netflix in Paris."
And I will admit, like, that makes me feel better about myself because I'm like that when I travel too. Sometimes, and then I like beat myself up because I'm like, I didn't go do all the like amazing things people think you should do when you're in Paris. And I'm like, I went home early and I enjoyed a book and I went to bed. Like,
Exactly. Just let people know that we are who we are. So brace who you are. And that's really what you could stay home and not go anywhere and be just as happy.
you just have to know yourself. And if
Yeah.
that's what's best for you, do it.
So good. I've enjoyed this too. I love being able to just share that, because I know I'm not like going, this is the perfect life and this is what you can do. It's no, we all have the perfect life. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for, we'll end on that because that's amazing. Thanks so much, Jenny.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
I had so much fun talking to Jennifer. Even after we were done recording, we talked for a whole other like 30 or 45 minutes. She was just really inviting and easy to talk to, and her energy is infectious. And I felt like there were a lot of things that I could relate to in regards to her advice, and a lot of advice that she gave that made me feel less alone, I guess. Which is kind of the whole point of this podcast, right? To help you feel less alone in the things that you're struggling with, the challenges you're facing in your career or in your desire to shift your career. So anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to leave a review wherever you're listening to the podcast. It's especially helpful if there's a written review, which I believe can only be done in Apple Podcast, or if you're on, you can type a comment under the video. But those reviews really make an impact on getting this episode out into more hands, or I guess I should say more ears. In addition, if you're interested in learning more from Jennifer, I have provided all of her links in the show notes. I would also like to mention that I am offering a free 45-minute session for up to 5 people who are seeking clarity around their next career move. So if you're interested in taking advantage of that offer, please reach out to me via email. My email is hello@brittanycates.com. I would love to assist you in figuring out what your next career move is, gaining some clarity, and giving you some guidance on the next action steps you can take to start getting closer to making a new career your reality. Again, thank you for being here and listening to the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Cates, and together, let's keep making those career moves